Your favorite streamer's Lamborghini is a sign of economic collapse. Now that's a title. I kind of want to click it. You've hooked me in. Your favorite streamer's Lamborghini is a sign of economic collapse?
How much is this 2023 Lamborghini yours? Starting at $349.
Yo, bro, I love your car. What do you do for a living?
Content creator?
And content, businesswoman, content creator.
What do you do for a living? Excuse me. I love your car. What do you do for a living? Social media.
Okay. Editing's a little...
This is a Lamborghini Urus. It is a vehicle loved by new millionaires all over the world. It's also a sign of the apocalypse. It's something that could only exist in the years preceding total economic collapse, and it's emblematic of the new money, the wealth inequality, and the get-rich-quick schemes that characterize our era. This glorified Toyota is a cruel joke that could only exist at the end of the world. And by the end of this video, you'll agree with me. You also probably won't be able to sleep at night, so stick around for some existential dread. And also, subscribe to ATRIOC so I can get rich, buy an Urus, and drive it off a f***ing cliff.
I have $700,000 in cash right there. I got $700,000 in cash right there.
He looks like every commentator YouTuber combined. It's very Zoomer pilled, but I think I could stomach it. I'm down. I'm interested.
Here's something really exciting for you. The US gained 2.5 million new millionaires in the year 2021. This is the most new millionaires in a single year in a single country this century. And it's part of this nice upward trend. Since 1979, the wages of the upper class have risen 41%. In the middle class, 6%. Lower classes wages have dropped, but like, come on. This is a good thing. You know why this is a good thing? Because that means there's new fucking money, baby. New money is shinier than old money and could be used to buy shinier objects. The middle class never did anything good. They never did anything for culture. Take it all, throw it in the garbage, man. It's garbage. Who needs it? With all this new money, enter the Urus. The Urus is great because it offers the badging and the performance of a Lamborghini while looking like a fucking Kia Sorento. It is the preferred mode of transportation for streamers, dropshippers, and crypto millionaires. All wonderful people. Let's take a look at all the wonderful new millionaires.
I think this is a little, I don't know when this came out, but maybe a little out of date because the sales on all this stuff is starting to fall off a cliff. Like luxury watches, a lot of these status symbols, Hugo Boss, LVMH.
Who choose to drive an Urus. Aiden Ross is a 22-year-old streamer, most known for truly enriching the cultural milieu with his thoughtful and deep content. Someone of this intellectual prowess deserves to drive a vehicle just as mighty.
And baby, the whole fucking family, I love it, Aiden.
What about cenat, the 21-year-old multi-millionaire streamer based in New York, recently famous for starting a revolution? Over a PlayStation 5. Young UK rapper, Central C. This guy I follow on TikTok, who sounds miserable all the time.
I used to work a 9 to 5, and that's the only time I can make schmickles. It's not electric like my Tesla.
Who I think sells envelopes or something? It takes real talent to become a millionaire now. Gumption, moxie. You're probably thinking, why the Urus? Why have these thought leaders chosen the Lamborghini Urus as their steed? You see, the upper class is in a cultural crisis. We basically all do the same things, but just different, more expensive versions of them. I walk to McDonald's to get my fucking slop. The upper class gets Uber Eats 3 times a day. A Nike white blank t-shirt.
Watch your fucking tone. Watch your fucking tone, all right? Tread lightly, motherfucker. There's a difference. I don't have a Lamborghini Urus, okay? But maybe I order Chipotle every now and then or get a lettuce bun delivered. There is a difference, okay? They're not the same. It's a tier, it's a step ladder, and it's like an early rung. I have a Honda Fit, just to be clear.
At the Nike outlet, 20% off, fits nice, I love it. The rich buy a Balmain or a Balenciaga one, same thing, man. They're all made by the same children. You drive a Hyundai Tucson, the upper class drives a Lamborghini Urus. It's this lack of upper class culture coupled with the phenomenon of new money that has created a caste of people with more money than they can spend and nowhere meaningful to spend it. You just made $12 million drop shipping fucking rubber gloves. You're gonna drive an Audi, you fucking peasant? There's a secret about the Urus I haven't even fucking got to yet. Ready?
What's the secret?
It's a tax write-off. Because it is over 6,000 pounds, which makes it a work vehicle, which means you can write it off for your business. Cenat was very, very happy about this one.
I don't know. It's a tax write-off. It is a truck that's more than 6,000 pounds. If you guys ever need to write off something with your company, I'm giving you game.
I'm happy for him. That's a great little loophole. I'm shitposting a lot, but I don't hate the rich. I want to be rich. Who doesn't want to be rich? I have a deep appreciation for upper class culture, for fine tastes. The difference now is that the upper class you see on TikTok, on Instagram Reels, isn't an upper class. It's what a fucking child would do if they had $10 million. It's just pure materialism, because that's what people think being rich is. I've been talking in this video under the assumption that new money is bad. And you're probably wondering, why is new money bad? 2.5 million new millionaires? It sounds like our economy is doing great. Adjusted for inflation, there's 4 times.
I'm not sure what the point is. It's like jumping around a little bit because, like, is it making fun of new money for buying tacky shit, or is there like a deeper meaning about wealth inequality, or is it what the rich people buy is not my concern? They've kind of always bought stupid shit. They've always bought luxury items. It's more like that they're getting all of the income. But I also like his energy. You know, some of you guys are a bit hater. Like, you know, people got to make their style. Maybe he's a new channel. I think it would benefit from honing in on a point.
Times as many millionaires now as there were in 1960. Not only is this a bad thing, it is a sign of economic collapse.
The top 20% of Americans own over 80% of the nation's total wealth. The bottom 20% and the next 20% barely even register on this bar chart, and the middle class makes up less than 5 to 6% of the overall bar.
Do you like statistics? Do you like just reading statistics out loud? Here's some statistics for you. Productivity and hourly compensation completely disconnected in 1970. Since 1979,
71.
The wages of the top 1% have gone up 138%. The middle class, about 15%. And even though middle class wages have increased marginally, 15%, their spending power hasn't gone up at all because of inflation and rising cost of living. The wages of college grads have been falling since 2000. CEOs make on average 300 times what the average employee makes. In 1970, it was only 24 times. Why am I reading these stats specifically? Before we get there, let's look at social cycle theory. The dominant belief of historians is that society has progressed slowly and surely in an upward direction since the dawn of history. This is what is called social evolutionism. In contrast to that, there are historians who believe that history repeats in cycles. Now, this is a very hot topic in history because there are many different cycles and everyone wants to think they can predict the future. For example, there is long cycle theory, which is where it begins with a world war or complete global conflict, and once the conflict is over, a dominant state or a dominant world leader emerges. This continues upwards until the cracks start to show, the leader's power is questioned, the leader's power falls, and the world falls back into global conflict. This happens over the course of 75 to 100 years. Oh, that's crazy. It's been 77 years since World War II. There's secular cycle theory, where a state or a country or a city has a long trajectory upwards. It reaches a tipping point where the land and the state can no longer support the population. This causes standards of living to deteriorate, famine, disease, civil war, internal conflict, until the state fully collapses. Once the state collapses, all the land and resources...
I'm sorry, I know that graph. That was not related. That was the graph of things that have inflation and not. It was like how TV prices have gone down, but college prices has gone up. That was That certainly wasn't to do with the collapse of the state.
These support the population. This causes a point where the land and the state can no longer support the population. This causes standards of living to deteriorate, famine, disease, civil war, internal conflict, until the state fully collapses. Once the state collapses, all the land and resources free up again, and the state begins the cycle over on an upward trajectory. This happens about every 250 to 300 years. Oh my god, that's crazy. It's been 246 years since 1776, since the beginning of the United States. That's really cool. There's fourth turning theory, where every 20 years a new generation takes over as the thought leaders, right? So you have like the boomers, you have Gen X, Gen Z, you have millennials. This happens 4 times until the 4th generation in the cycle, the 4th turn. The new culture is so fundamentally different from the first turn that there's internal conflict, and it's usually followed by a war and some really serious civil unrest or collapse of the state. This process takes about 80 years. Now, whether you...
It's not really. I want to jump in. I think the 4th turn is a little more nuanced than that. The main idea is that the lessons of the last time are finally lost. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, for example, when the Great Depression happened, we finally had banking regulation because people were like, hey, this fucking sucks. We have to regulate it. And then there's politicians that know like the hungriness and the failure and the bread lines, and they know like all of the bad things that's caused when it goes wrong. And so they police it and they protect it. And then those politicians get old and then they die. There's a next wave that kind of remembers, and then they die. And there's another wave that doesn't remember at all. And they're like, why do we need these regulations? And they get rid of them. It's like, that's the cycles of it, is that we unlearn the lessons over time. Yeah, anti-vaxxers, similar thing. It's like, you know, people learn why these things exist. Then they work good for a long time. Then we forget why we had them to begin with. Then they're like, hey, let's get rid of them. And then we have to, it progresses, but it's like, you have to go back because people unlearn these lessons. It's not just like the generations being different.
You give credence to these theories is up to you. But
you know, it's funny that my best example of someone explaining this is George fucking Bush. But I showed a George Bush clip recently that I thought was actually fucking phenomenal, where he was talking about, you know, the 20s and the 30s and isolationism and protectionism and all that, and like how we learned those lessons. And it's like, in my mind, it's like George Bush is the last politician that even remembers it. He even remembers why those things existed. And now we're past the George Bush era and nobody even remembers why we didn't do those things. Like, you know, he mentioned fucking Smoot-Hawley, which is a deep cut, but that was like in the 20s and 30s, right before the Great Depression. We had protectionism where we threw up a bunch of tariffs. We did a whole ton of tariffs on every good coming to the United States. And then it caused a ton of retaliatory tariffs. Like Canada put up tariffs on our goods. All our allies put up tariffs on our goods. And it caused a huge depression. Like it was a big problem. Like our exports went way down. And we're forgetting why we did those things. But George Bush remembers. George fucking Bush, a dude who he got like a C student, daddy's boy in Texas remembers that. And no people after that don't remember. We forgore. That's the lesson. We forgore.
What's most alarming is there's one trend common through all these cycles. This trend was present at the collapse of the Roman Empire, the Taiping Revolution in China, and the French Revolution. It's also happening right now as we speak. This is called elite overproduction. Elite overproduction is what happens when a society produces too many potential elites for the upper class to absorb, creating a surplus of people who feel they have been cheated by the system. Peter Turchin, one of the main proponents of this concept, likens it to dead wood building up in a forest and how that eventually becomes fuel for a forest fire. Elite overproduction also includes people who actually get to become elites. And the issue here is twofold. The first is that they drain resources from the lower class. That's obvious. But the second issue is that there's only so many positions for elites to occupy. There's only so many CEO positions or Senate seats. There can only be so many famous actors, famous authors, famous streamers. And now there's an exponentially rising amount of people who have the money and education to do those jobs. This tends to cause infighting amongst the elites, as well as elites trying to rally up lower classes in like revolutions or big populist movements where they try to identify with the lower class and try to, you know, really rile them up, get them passionate, try to force some change, trying to kick the elites that they're in competition with out. You know, that I don't know, that's a really foreign concept. That one sounds kind of crazy. When I say the Urus is a prophecy of the apocalypse, I'm not shitposting, I'm genuinely serious. It's a vehicle that could only exist here and now. Lamborghini tried to make an SUV in the 80s. It was called the LM002. It was a huge failure. It sold like 300 units. The Urus is Lamborghini's best-selling car of all time, and it has sold 20,000. If you take anything from this video, it's that new money should concern you. You've seen this vehicle popping up in your city streets more than you've ever seen it before. You see it on TikTok, you see it on Instagram, you see it all the time. And it's nothing but a symbol of the double-digit IQ decadence that could only exist in the 2020s. It is a precursor to the hardship, to the crazy times we're about to experience, man. Things are about to get fucking insane, so stick around, or else you're gonna miss the big show.
I liked it. Yeah. I have read a lot about this idea that revolutions are never really the lower class rising up. It's always elites versus elites. It's some squad of elites who feels like their power is either slipping or they're underrepresented, and then they mobilize the lower classes, which is interesting. You think about like the American Revolution, just as an example. It's not like the poor downtrodden people of America organized that. It's like George Washington and all of these actually well-off American landowners who felt like they were being unfairly taxed by different elites in Britain, sort of organized, and they create the armies and they rise up. But it's like it's an upper class getting it motivated.